Assalamu alaikum dear students, hope you are fine. Our today's topic for discussion is a poem Sunrise written by Padma Sachdev, translated by Dr. Karan Singh. Dear students, let me give you a brief introduction about the writer Padma Sachdev. Padma Sachdev is one of the leading poets of Dogri today. Born in 1940 in a family of Sanskrit scholars, Padma admits of no influence save that of folk songs in her poetry. Perhaps this is what gives her poetry its typical earthy flavor, while her Sanskrit literacy background lends it its vibrancy. Padma Sachdev is the recipient of many honors, including the Sahitya Academy Award in 1971. Dear students, let me give you a brief introduction about the poem, that Sunrise. Sunrise is a poem by the famous Dogri poets Padma Sachdev. She says that there is no set or fixed time for the sun to rise. She states with the conviction of a bold person that whenever it rises, that is sunrise. Writer states with the conviction of a bold person that whenever it rises, that is sunrise. Now let's start the first stanza. Let me read the first stanza. The sun was descending like a cataract in the eye of the sky. The rain was constantly splashing against the sky, washing it so that it began to look drenched and forlorn, and it was thundering in anger. The sun was descending like a cataract in the eye of the sky. The rain was constantly splashing against the sky, washing it so that it began to look drenched and forlorn, and it was thundering in anger. Dear students, in these lines, the poet says that it was the time of afternoon. It was the time of afternoon. The sun was coming down and it was going to set. The sun was coming down and it was going to set. The sky was covered with clouds, like the eyes of a man covered with cataract. We know that a cataract is a disease in which an area of the eye becomes cloudy so that a person cannot see correctly. So writer here says the rain constantly splashed against the sky. It was washing the sky continuously, and it looked thoroughly soaked and wet and a bit lonely and sad. That says the sky was sad perhaps because it did not have the company of the shining sun. It thundered to express its anger. Now the second stanza. The sun seizing the opportunity, pushed the clouds away and crept out like a schoolboy quickly entering and cowering at the back of the class to evade attention of the angry schoolmaster. Let me read it again. The sun seizing the opportunity, pushed the clouds away and crept out like a schoolboy quickly entering and cowering at the back of the class to evade attention of the angry schoolmaster. This is second stanza of the poem. The writer here says, poet says that the sun got the opportunity. The sun seizing the opportunity. The sun got the opportunity, pushed the clouds away and crept out. So it pushed the clouds away and crept out from behind them, like a schoolboy quickly entering. And writer here says that it crept out like a schoolboy who enters the classroom quickly and crouches in fear at the back of the classroom to avoid the angry master's attention. Let me explain it again. Poet here says that the sun got the opportunity, so it pushed the clouds away and crept out from behind them. It crept out from behind them. It crept out like a schoolboy who enters the classroom quickly and crouches in fear at the back of the classroom to avoid the angry master's attention. Now third stanza. Slowly the pale sun began to turn yellow, and with that its light scattered in all directions. Seeing the light, the schoolmaster asked, "Where you have been all this while? Was your slate not clean or did not get enough to eat? Is this time for the sun to rise?" Let me read it again. Slowly the pale began to turn yellow, and with its light scattered in all directions. Seeing the light, the schoolmaster asked, "Where you have been all this while? Was your slate not clean or did not get enough to eat? Is this the time for the sun to rise?" Dear students, the poet says that the sun started turning yellow, so it began to spread in all directions. It began to spread in all directions. Seeing the light, the schoolmaster asked to the student where it had been all the time. The schoolmaster asked where it had been all the time. He asked if whether its slate was clean or whether it had not got enough to eat to be able to come out in time. Angrily, the sky asked the sun if afternoon was the time to rise. Angrily, the sky asked the sun if afternoon was the time to rise. The poet seems to question the wisdom of the school teachers who speak angrily to the students when they fail to come in time without trying to see whether there were some reasons for them to be late. The poetess seems to question the wisdom of the school teachers who speak angrily to the students when they fail to come in time without trying to see whether there were some reasons for them to be late. It is better to be late for the light. Poet says here, it is better to be late for the light of the knowledge than not to have this light at all. Poet stresses here, emphasizes here that it is better to be late for the light of the knowledge than not to have this light at all. It's no use trying to scold the school children without trying to understand their point of view. Now the fourth and the last stanza. By now the sun shining in all its splendor. In all its splendor. It answered proudly. It answered proudly. What is the point of getting annoyed? What is the point of getting annoyed? There is no set time for the sun to rise. There is no set time for the sun to rise. Whenever it rises, that is sunrise. Whenever it rises, that is sunrise. Dear students, here poet says that the sun started shining in all its splendor after it had been rudely scolded by the sky. The sun answered boldly and fearlessly that there was no wisdom on the part of the sky to have felt angry and offended. For everything there is a set time, but there is no fixed time for the sun to rise. For everything there is a set time, but there is no fixed time for the sun to rise. Whenever it rises early or late, it is welcome. It is welcome. Poet says it is better to be rid of old thoughts and conventions. There is no fixed time for intellectual freedom and enlightenment. Intellectuals seldom can be removed at any time. Writer says intellectual seldom can be removed at any time. The poet wants to drive home the point that children should not be scolded even if they come late for learning. Ignorance must go. Even when it goes late, the ignorant person should not be scolded. Let me repeat. Writer poet says there is no fixed time for the intellectual freedom and enlightenment. The poet wants to drive home the point that children should not be scolded even if they come late for learning. Ignorance must go. Even when it goes late, the ignorant person should not be scolded. Thank you very much.